You can't do this to me, Linda.
Why not? I can't be with a sick man. You can die for all I care.
Liz, sweetheart, can you speak to your mother? She doesn't mean all that, does she?
Of course she does.
What? You're not taking her side right now, are you?
Well, I am. I also can't stay with a poor father. I'm leaving with my mother. Rest in peace if you die.
Hello. I'm Harold, and I'm 48 years of age. I married my ex-wife, Linda, 20 years ago. My parents didn't support our marriage, especially my mother, but I was strong-headed about it. I loved her, and I wanted to marry her. My parents' reasons sounded absurd to me then.
She's only marrying you for your money, son. Girls like her don't ever marry for love.
I'm afraid your mother is right, Harold. She appears to be a greedy lady. You might want to rethink your decision. She also doesn't work. How will she support you? I refused adamantly and married my ex-wife. For the first 2 years, Linda refused to birth a child. According to her, she wanted us to enjoy being a married couple for as long as possible. I reasoned with her and thought she was right. We spent those years having all the fun we could get. The next year, she got pregnant with our daughter. When Liz was born, I thought she was the most beautiful girl in the world. I'd never seen any child with such beauty. I was happy to finally have a complete family of my own. Linda didn't work. I did suggest getting her a job, but she refused. According to her, I was rich, and it would be embarrassing for her to work instead of being the missus of the house. Again, I reasoned with her. While I worked hard to maintain my wealth for my family, my wife took care of our daughter. I provided the best things for my family and made sure they both lacked nothing. However, tragedy struck our family 2 months after Liz's 17th birthday. I got diagnosed with cancer. It wasn't serious at first, but it slowly began to spread until I had to stop working to get treated. My ex-wife and daughter took care of me for a few weeks, but they soon got tired and stopped visiting regularly like they used to. I asked my ex-wife once when she came over, and her reply had me shocked.
Why should I be here every day? I can't take the risk of getting infected by your disease. Breathing the same air as you is risky enough.
But cancer isn't infectious. You can't get it by taking care of me.
Well, I'm being careful. I'm leaving now, matter of fact. Being close to you is dangerous.
At first, I thought it was as a result of her ignorance, so I asked the doctor to explain to her that it wasn't contagious as she thought. Luckily, she came by 2 days later with Liz, and the doctor was in the room at the time. I was told you think cancer is dangerous. You don't have to be afraid, it isn't.
Well, do I care? Actually, it's not that. I just gave that as an excuse.
What? What do you mean?
I'm leaving you, Harold. I didn't sign up to take care of a sick man.
How can you say that, Linda? I'll be fine soon. Can't you have a little patience?
No, never. Not with a sick man. I'm going to bring our divorce papers to you in a week.
You can't do this to me, Linda.
Why not? I can't be with a sick man. You can die for all I care.
Liz, sweetheart, can you speak to your mother? She doesn't mean all that, does she?
Of course she does.
What? You're not taking her side right now, are you?
Well, I am. I also can't stay with a poor father. I'm leaving with my mother. Rest in peace if you die.
But I'm not poor.
You will be by the time you're done treating this. Goodbye, Father. Like I said earlier, I do wish you rest in peace when you die.
The doctor was shocked, but not as I was. How could she and our daughter turn their backs on me at the time I needed them the most? I was truly heartbroken. The doctor tried to console me, but I refused and asked him to give me some time alone. It was a whole lot to take in. The next day, Linda came with divorce papers and asked me to sign them. I tried calling them afterward, but neither of them were picking up the calls. I soon realized that they'd blocked my number from being able to call them. I was alone at the hospital. 1 week later, I was forced to call my personal assistant to request her help. Without arguing, she agreed. I offered to pay her, but she refused.
The company's suffering from your absence. That's enough for you. I can't make you pay me. I should have been here earlier, matter of fact. I just thought your family were here with you.
I was tempted to tell her what Linda and Liz did, but I held back. I didn't want to make them look bad. my personal assistant was very kind. She took care of me so well that most staff members at the hospital mistook her for my wife. During that period, we grew so close and became attached to each other. I hadn't heard any news about Linda and Liz yet, but I hoped to. Immediately, I left the hospital. For nearly 6 months, my personal assistant took no money from me for taking care of me. She also assisted in running my company. However, without me there, things got worse, and I was forced to sell the company. By the time I was out, the only thing I had left was my mansion. I was also told by my home staff that Linda and Liz had left the house 6 months ago. I realized it was after the last time I saw them that they left. Even more, I found out my wife has started living with the CEO of a rival company. Apparently, she'd helped him to drive my customers to his own company. I was devastated. It was the darkest time of my life. Fortunately, my personal assistant was always with me. She ensured I never turned to alcohol for consolation. Whenever she wasn't at my house, she made sure the maids watched over me and stopped me if I ever tried to drink. Soon, I got over the thought of my wife leaving me. I had no company anymore, and my bank account wasn't as it used to be. I knew I needed to start something before I went completely broke. But first, I went to see Linda. I heard about Liz's graduation ceremony, so I planned to meet them there. That decision brought me the biggest embarrassment of my life. Now, Linda and Liz pulled me out of the hall once they sighted me. How could you do this to me, Linda? You not only took my customers to him, you also took my daughter?
Well, sick man, my daughter and I deserve a wealthy man who can take good care of us. That man used to be you, but it's him now. Get that into your freaking head.
Mom is right. He has filled your stop, and you can't do anything about it. We're going to have as much fun as we want without you.
In case you didn't understand what the girl said, she meant you shouldn't show your face to us anymore.
Before I could respond, one of the man's bodyguards approached us. The boss asked me to see if you're both okay.
No, we're not. Can you get this poor man away from our sight?
Without wasting time, the man pushed me to the floor and yelled at me to leave. The people around immediately stopped and began to watch. Linda and Liz walked away after asking the bodyguard to deal with me if I tried to be stubborn. I did get beaten a little before I shamefully walked away. I reached home to meet my personal assistant waiting for me. She was shocked to see me in that state. Quickly, she swung into action. I was taken to the hospital and treated there. When we returned home, she revealed to me that she drafted out a plan to bring my company back to life. But I sold it already. She told about how she'd spoken to the man who bought it and discovered that he didn't need it. He was too rich and simply needed to spend some of his money. He was also willing to sell it back to me at an insanely low price. With the encouragement from my personal assistant, I took more than half of the money I had left in my bank account and bought my company back. Together with her, we began working hard to bring it back to life. It was a hard time for me, but she was right beside me, encouraging me to push on. In the process, we grew feelings for each other. I hadn't expected her to agree when I asked her to be my girlfriend, but she did. Even though I wasn't rich anymore and the company wasn't doing well yet, she didn't mind.
I love you, and I'm going to be here with you every step of the way, no matter what.
Together, we pushed harder until the company began coming back to life again. The customers Linda took to her boyfriend's company, my girlfriend brought them back to ours, slowly. Soon, we had employees again, and my company returned to the state it was before my illness. I decided to get married to my girlfriend. I proposed to her, and she agreed. The day I took her to my parents was the day I revealed everything that had happened, including my illness. They had no idea because they were living in a different country. My parents were furious as to how Linda and Liz treated me when I was sick and even divorced me, but I reminded them that it wasn't about those two anymore, but my girlfriend and I. Luckily, they liked her and approved of her. We got married 3 months later. However, on my wedding day, Linda and Liz suddenly appeared at the hotel where I was meant to stay before heading to the church. I had no idea how they knew I was there. They both went on their knees, pleading for my forgiveness in tears. According to Linda, the man had left her after my company came back to life, and he was broke to fund her lifestyle. He'd heard about my situation and had used her greediness to his advantage. They apologized and begged me to stop the marriage to my personal assistant, but I burst into laughter. Well, I'm sorry, but I've cut off ties with you both. I don't care if you used to be my wife or if you're my daughter, but I don't want to have anything to do with you both. I asked them to leave, but when they refused, I was forced to ask the bouncers to chase them out. Of course, he was rough with them, the same way their bodyguard was to me the day I'd gone to plead with them. My wedding went smoothly and happily. From the venue, we headed straight to Paris for our honeymoon. 2 days later, we got a call that 2 thieves who were trying to break into my house were caught by my bodyguards. They were both at the hospital after a terrible fall from my balcony while trying to escape. Their legs had been paralyzed forever. My wife and I had to end our honeymoon and returned home. To my surprise, it was Linda and Liz. Linda knew where I kept my money and the passcode of the safe. They'd wanted to steal from there since she didn't work and didn't have a man to fund her lifestyle. I didn't file a case. They were miserable, already being crippled. I asked the police to free them. However, I refused to pay for their hospital bills. They were sent out of the hospital, even though their wounds weren't fully healed because no one paid their bills. It's been 2 years, and my wife just had our first child, a boy. We're living happily without problems or news from Linda and Liz. They could both suffer till death for all I care. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.